Hello, everyone. We are live. Welcome to A Better Way, a sustainable approach to wellness. Today, we are discussing simple ways to have more energy, strengthen your body, and feel more rested. I am Dr. Reed Winnick from Dentistry for Health New York. I am joined today with Tammy Kohlschmidt from Thermography for Health New York, and also Karen Atkins. Karen is a vitality master coach, and she also has many talents.
Yes, we actually want to acknowledge and congratulate all of you for being here with us today and for caring so much about your personal health. We do recognize that your time is precious and valuable, so we thank you for sharing these moments. And just know that all of you are the disruptors to mainstream medicine.
You know, like us, your goal is to make a difference for yourselves, family, and your community. And we want to acknowledge your greatness because obviously nothing happens without you guys being present and listening to these educational webinars. Question, do you want to feel more vibrant in your life? Well, then you've come to the right place. So for the next 45 minutes, we're going to discuss ways to have more energy, vitality, resilience, and feel more rested, both physically and emotionally. At the end of the webinar, we will have time and we're going to have a question and answers. And we're also going to have some special gifts simply because you are here with us today.
So there's 4 questions that we're going to kind of roll through as the webinar goes. We've actually used these questions to motivate ourselves to take action, but also to give us awareness around what's important to us. And the first question is, what does being healthy mean to you? So before you can even give a real answer on this question, you have to understand that healing happens on 4 levels: physical, mental, emotional, and spiritual. So keeping that in your awareness when you start to answer these questions is going to help guide you and navigate you.
The 3 of us have experienced many health challenges through our lives. In fact, many challenges. And we've learned that it's a long and winding road to health and being free of disease. And just when you think you're out there, and you're doing fine, you stumble on a rock and realize something else is now needed.
Right.
I hate when that happens. I really do.
That just happened to me. I've just recovered from a broken toe, so.
Yeah.
You see, it's true.
Better now. Yeah, I soaked my foot for the first time in months. This morning, it felt great.
Good.
As a child, I was sick. And as I got older, I was getting sicker and sicker. And finally, I was near death. And it took a lot of effort just to get through school and basically enjoy life. Until having my healthy appendix removed, I was finally diagnosed with Crohn's disease. I was in pain and I would say compromised almost my entire young life. And over the years, after many surgeries that cut out my body parts and having to take numerous drugs with minimal benefit, I found my holistic path, luckily. And during my healing journey, I learned that the traditional medical model is basically to just treat us like a broken machine and not the real whole organism that we really are. And I realized that to be healthy, we should follow the same laws that govern nature. So over the years, I turned my dental practice into what it is today, following holistic, biological, and sustainable principles, thus helping my patients actually achieve a higher level of health.
Yeah, Dr. Winnick, I just want to comment that you really have it all together. I mean, I know everything you do on a daily basis to keep yourself well. I'm happy that we're going to be talking to Karen today because I know Karen and I remind you probably daily that you need to include some exercise and movement into your repertoire.
This is the second time today, so I'm good for tomorrow.
Okay, all right, good.
No, you could always use another reminder.
Okay, thanks. Tammy has a very good way of rising above her illness. And when I first met her, she was very sick, and I had no idea.
So yeah, I've had a long journey with sickness and healing, and it started at birth, and it's pretty much challenged me my entire life. But what saved me is moving on to the holistic path, because once I moved into that way of living, it freed me from the disease model of medicine, which did save my life on numerous occasions. However, it wasn't sustainable. So that's how all of that healing began for me. But just kind of going back to movement and exercise a little bit, I was a professional dancer most of my entire life. And when I got into my 40s and started to do a lot of office hours, and my body actually started to rebel. I had all kinds of aches and pains and tension, things happening in my body that I really never felt before because I was always training. So movement for me is non-negotiable. It's just, if I don't do it, I suffer.
Well, yes, I've definitely witnessed that with you, Tammy. The years, yes. Karen, I'm curious, how did you get started in natural health care?
Well, like both of you, and probably most people who get involved, or at least the people that I know, like people that I know who are involved in natural wellness, it usually happens because we are sick. And so that did happen to me too. I had a lot of health issues, crazy amount of health issues when I was growing up. I was like, I had this like relationship with Triaminic because my parents were always giving me these things that now I realize, oh my God, I can't believe I'm still here. But yeah, I had, growing up, I had a lot of issues, and then it kind of settled down a little bit. And then when I got into my teens and early 20s, and I had a career as a professional musician, and the stress increased so much in my life that all of the things that I had been struggling with earlier and more basically started to arise again. And I think that's, what I've realized from all my alternative practices since then, my education, is that stress really is the underlying factor. And, I recently put a video out about how we respond to stress and what our nervous system does when we respond. And, the first thing I said was that we're dealing with more stress in one day of our lives than our ancestors less than 100 years ago had to manage in their whole lifetime. And people were like, no, they were stressed too, but it's the type of stresses that can really compound. So I think for me, there were emotional, and that's one thing, but all the other kinds of stressors that were going up in our environment. But anyway, so I was on a mission to figure out what was going on. And, I actually quit my music career pretty much. I mean, there were several reasons, but one of the main ones is because I couldn't sustain that, what I was doing with how I was feeling. I mean, I needed to heal my body, and I needed to heal my soul, my emotions, and all of it. And so I started, studying all kinds of different alternative things, even, Western medicine. Like both of you, I mean, quickly I found that it wasn't really a route that was going to be beneficial for what I was looking for.
Right.
And so I went and tried acupuncture and chiropractic and, all kinds of alternative practices, and then found Body Talk, which obviously is how we got connected. And that was one of the biggest, that because what was happening is all these modalities were actually helping me, but there was still something missing. And every time my stress level would increase beyond what was normal for me or dealable for me, then I'd get sick again. Right. And so finding Body Talk was really one of the first big jumps. I did all this other stuff, which was great. And then I found Body Talk, which made a huge jump in my ability to manage stress. Because of the way that it engages the natural healing ability of the body. And
Right.
So I got so excited about that, that I ended up opening up a healing center and flying all around the world, teaching in everywhere from Indonesia, Brazil, Bali, Bali's Indonesia, Thailand, wherever, Europe. And I got sick because, I didn't really get sick in the same way that I had before, but I got so burnt out
Yeah.
that my energy tanked. you know, and because of what I know about stress, luckily I was able to catch it in enough time to not get very, very sick. And that's when I was introduced to a Qigong master, a Tai Chi and Qigong master, who had actually come to teach classes at my healing center. And I'd been so busy that I hadn't gone to any of his classes until finally, a year after I met him, I finally went to one of his classes, and I could barely keep my eyes open, actually, while we were in the class, because he was talking and my energy was so tanked that I was just like, you know. And then finally, though, by the afternoon, we had started to do practices, and I'd started to feel something. It was like this tingly sensation. And then by the end of the afternoon or early into the evening, I felt this very distinct feeling that I will never forget. And it was the feeling of possibilities.
Right.
Like I could sense that something was going to change and something could change in my energy, which I think I had been, you know, it's like I was always trying to stop myself from getting sick, or even getting the body to function and balance itself. That was great. And I was so critical, and I helped so many people heal. But without understanding this vital life force that we all have, I was missing a piece. So after that day, I made a commitment to start studying with him. And I really only had enough energy to do about 10, 15 minutes a day. And I made a huge leap in my energy. And that's where everything shifted, which I guess we'll talk more about the details of that later. But that's basically, and then I started to integrate, because after learning body talk, I ended up studying. I wanted to know why I was getting all these results with people and with myself. So I actually started studying all these other alternative healing modalities. So I've learned about 40 over the years. And then once I found out about this vital life force we call primordial chi, I started combining and integrating all the different modalities together. And so that's really what I teach now, primarily, combining these things.
And so, you know, in each of our journeys, I mean, I'm listening to both of you. It brings me back to the point of, you know, putting yourself in that feeling place of what does being healthy mean to you? Because clearly the journeys that each of us have been on, it means something different, but in the end, I think it means more vitality, more clarity, more energy. So when you at home, when you're thinking about that question, number one, what does being healthy mean to you? Think about your journey. Think about what you've suffered through, where you're at now, and where you actually want to be. And in the midst of all of that, remember that you've got your physical body, your mental, right? The way that you think. You've got your emotions, and you've got your spiritual sense of self. So there are various levels that are happening there.
You know, Karen, with your story, it's interesting because I was thinking back that we must know you for at least 12, 15 years, and I've never seen you to be tired or just out of it. You're always so vibrant. You have all this energy. So I'm glad to see you that way, but I'd be curious to see how you looked when you were tired, because I would never imagine you being tired.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, I think I hit it kind of well, but not really. Those pictures I kind of have in a little file. Maybe I'll bring them out sometime when I'm feeling loose. But actually, I don't think I took that many pictures of myself back then, is the truth of it.
Sure, you're too tired.
Yeah, well, I was busy, you know, so busy. I wasn't really, you know, anyway. But,
right. Busy, but less effective.
Right.
Right.
Dr. Wynn, can you touch on the immune system connection with what you do with the mouth?
Sure. So when missing something on one of the levels that you mentioned before, Tammy, your immune system gets challenged. And I know as a as a sustainable dentist, and what is going on with COVID-19 and other infections is that the people, for the most part, that are passing away have an underlying medical disease or some other unknown issues. And quite often these underlying issues are hidden infections in the mouth. And people don't know about these infections early on because they don't feel any pain.
Yeah.
And that's why we adopted a protocol in the office that every patient gets a microbial assessment for these hidden infections. You know, I wonder if that will become standard for COVID-19.
Well,
Sorry, go ahead.
go ahead.
I was just going to say that it's so important to address the whole body complex, right? I mean, that's where energy and vitality come together. And I think that viral and bacterial infections are largely missed. And, you know, you were saying early on, but actually, I think that even, you know, a lot of people are like, oh, well, no, that I didn't have any problems. But those things are they're so insidious. You know, it's kind of like an intolerance in the body. You know,
Right.
we're eating foods that we're intolerant to, but we don't really know because it's not like an allergy where we have this dramatic
Hi.
rash or, you know, anything that go on. But it's like maybe we feel a little tired, or we get like a little out of sorts, or we get a little annoyed, or, you know, something where it's like that food or that thing that we're intolerant to is just like getting in there, and then we keep doing it because we don't know that we're having that problem.
Right.
And
Right.
so, you know, being able to address those things and the infections are so critical. So yeah, totally agree, and so grateful. That's why I fly all the way back to New York from California for the last 10 years to see you guys, because I can't go to anybody else. That's the truth, and they don't pay me to say that.
No, not at all.
In fact, I pay them a lot. No. I love you guys, and I'll never go anywhere else as long as I can. Hopefully I can get back there.
You will. That's going to happen. That's
Yeah.
gonna happen. So let's look at question number 2. What steps are you taking to get there? We kind of talked about some of the steps that we do. We do want to talk more about it because there's many steps. The key, though, is not becoming overwhelmed with all the things that you have to do to start to feel better. And so that's something else Karen geniusly has put together for us, is a way to achieve health daily, but in tiny steps, so that you're not so overwhelmed with, you know, 1,000 different things. They're all important, but you can't do them all in one day. And so that's what we're going to look at. And remember that everything from your food choices to the thoughts that you think, and even your environment, the electromagnetic fields that are around you, they can all either be an assault or a benefit, right? So that's something else that when we look deeper into Karen's program, you're going to hear about the ways that you can manage those things.
You know, that's true, Tammy. Each of these healthy steps brings you to a higher level of health.
Yeah.
But it's the emotional and spiritual work you do that actually brings you to the highest level of health. And most people just forget about that. And
Yeah. Well,
that's really the place to start.
yeah, well, that's exactly why I created my program, Master Your Body IQ, because I realized that as I was, you know, the body talk really helped me a lot to really start to understand at a deeper level how emotional stress and the inefficient handling of our emotions.
Anxiety also.
Because it's not just emotional stress. I mean, we all deal with stress on, you know, you can't avoid stress. And, you know, like I was saying in my video, we're dealing with so much by just electromagnetic frequencies and too many emails and, you know, all these different things coming in. And that creates even more, you know, to the point where you're saying, like, I think part of the reason people get overwhelmed is actually an emotion that happens very often to our adrenal glands. Because our adrenal glands, they produce adrenaline, and that's one of the reasons why people have these cortisol reactions, or the response there, the body is overreacting and creating more inflammation, because we're not able to handle all the different things that are coming at us. And so it actually taxes our adrenal glands so heavily. And that's one of the things that when you start to manage your emotions, the adrenal glands start to come back on board. And they're so essential because they're essential for our immune system.
Is that what, because I remember you and I talked about before about building your energy and your body's response to stress. Where does that play?
Yeah, exactly. Well, so I'm trying to think of like how to contextualize this. So one of the things about building your energy that's important for the body's response to stress is that we have, let's just say, in Chinese medicine, there's this concept of meridians. Okay, most of us have probably heard of these rivers of energy that flow through the body, and each meridian is connected with a particular organ. And so when we, the Chinese don't believe, the ancient Chinese, I don't know about the current, but the ancient Chinese, they didn't believe in illness. They believed in qi blockage, right? Yeah. So if the energy is blocked somewhere, that's where we get ill. And that's also where we stop being able to manage our emotions and things like that, right? So if we have these meridians and the meridians are connected to particular organs, and if we can do either two things. We can get the energy can be blocked by either stagnation, we're not moving, we're taking in too many things and our body's getting overwhelmed. The processes in the body aren't working, where we have like some underlying, viral or bacterial infections that are constantly taxing us. So we can't, the efficiency of the body in terms of the immunity gets compromised, whatever it is. So that energy gets blocked. And if we're not moving the energy properly along those meridians, not only will those organs suffer physically, but we also have trouble, just dealing with our emotions, and figuring out how to properly manage what's happening. So, for example, I was talking about you asked about energy and how it's connected.
Yeah.
So if we're able to cultivate and do certain things that are going to build the energy and keep the energy flowing in those organs, then that's when we're able to we take something that comes at us, and it's literally like a flowing river, right? When a river is flowing and the energy is flowing, the motion can float by you, the illness can float by you, everything. And that's how the efficiency of the immune system works, is that we get sick and we heal in the following order: consciousness, energy field, physical body, right? Yep. And so the consciousness is like our psyche, our emotions, our the way that we look at things, right? And a lot of our subconscious emotions and all that going on, right? That's a bigger thing, but let's just say, we're looking on a more awareness level, right? And sometimes we're not aware. So it's either we're aware, we're not aware, but that's conscious. Then the energy field is this exactly what I'm talking about. And in terms of the energy being affected, right? So when you get acupuncture and you get a needle poked in you, you are affecting the energetic system of the body. You're affecting the etheric body. And then you have the physical, right? So all three are critical, right? Yeah. So I'm not saying that you don't have like a physical thing, so some kind of like, health is about all those things. I'm not trying to say it's only about energy, right? I would never say something like that. But what I'm saying is we're all looking at the physical.
Yeah, or the chemistry.
And we're just missing the other pieces. So I'm not saying ignore the physical. Of course not. We must take care. I was exposed to the coronavirus twice. I'm like sitting here in my house. I've barely seen anyone for 2 months because of my broken toe. And still, the few people that came in happened to be exposed to the virus, and I was exposed. And so what did I do? Do you think I just did energetic things? No. Right. I did physical things and energetic things. But what I'm saying is that the energetic component is so critical, and most people are just not considering what they can do, right? So when you add that component to the things that you're doing for yourself physically, that creates a much stronger shield to protect us against illness, and also to be able to thrive in a whole new way.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and you can also shift. You can shift out of a situation faster if you're looking at all of those different components.
Exactly. You know, so like I was saying, you know, when you look at the emotions and the thing comes by, it's the same thing. If things can't stick on you, then it's much easier for your body to handle it. Because if we're just you know, things are coming and we emotionally and physically are stagnant, then the body has to process a lot more at once. Right? So we're making it easier by improving the energetic movement in the body. We are making it easier for the physical body to do its healing.
So, so how can you know, first of all, we're kind of all at home right now, but even if we weren't at home, and even if I'm still busy, even though I'm at home, I'm still busy. So what I want you to kind of explain is why did you choose to do the Master Your Body IQ challenge now? And how does it fit into people who are at home or still working from home because they're still on a schedule?
Well, actually, you know, I created a program called Master Your Body IQ that combines, you know, saying it integrates all the different modalities and everything. And it's been getting, people are having a lot of success. And, you know, most of the people who are in the program are just like, you know, they're raving about it. And they asked me, you know, is there some way for us, because we kind of do them in little phases, right? So I take a group through and I put all my attention on that group. And so we're in the middle of the group right now. And they all asked me, is there something that we can do for our other people who are not in the program right now? I have friends who really could use this. You know, what can you do? Is there something you can do? So, so I looked at two things. The first is, what can I do for free? Because, you know, a lot of people are having financial struggles right now. They're not working, you know, all that stuff. So I wanted to do something that was going to be accessible to everybody. And then I also wanted to do it soon, basically, so that we could, you know, get it out to as many people as possible. So I just kind of got to work doing, you know, some recording the videos and doing the extra stuff to get it done as soon as possible. So, you know, we're starting that this coming Monday. But that was one of the reasons. And then I also looked at opening up another group for Master Your Body IQ in May.
So what is the challenge? Because that was one of our questions.
So the Body IQ challenge is basically, it's a 5-day challenge, and the idea is to challenge us to up level our practice, to be consistent with our practices. And it teaches 5 different types of practices that we can do in 5 different areas. What I call, like, I made this thing called my 5-piece wellness wheel. And I sat when I was organizing, you know, what kinds of things I wanted to share with people from all the 40 modalities that I learned. You know, I looked at what do I need to include, where if one of those pieces is missing, then we're going to be, you know, something's not going to be quite right with our health, right? Like we need to have those 5 things in balanced. And often when I do body talk sessions with people, or, you know, just when I'm evaluating people, I realize that usually when they're doing everything, quote unquote, right, to heal, but they're missing, you know, sometimes they're just missing one of those components. So I picked those 5 components, and each day we're going to focus on one of those components. And there's the most critical ones to be doing consistently. I start with on the first couple of days. So, and then I say, you know, each thing only takes a couple minutes to do.
So what's the 5 things? Like,
so the 5 areas are movement, energy balancing, nourishment, environment, or in this case, we're going to just focus on clutter clearing, and awareness. So in the challenge, there'll be, you know, the first day really focused, because movement, I feel like you were talking about at the beginning, I feel like it's the most critical piece for us that gets missed. It's not necessarily always missed, but you know, it's like, because, and I used to go, you know, I have a lot of colleagues in the health field, and I did notice that, you know, a lot of people kind of get into a certain rut of, you know, I'm sharing this information and this is the only piece of information, whatever. And then they sometimes forget this other piece. I'd go to these conferences and I see nobody's moving. We're sitting here for like 3 days and we're all on our butts the whole time, and nobody maybe for like 2 minutes, they're like, let's stretch a little. I'm like, oh, we need more than that, people,
Yeah.
So I started offering my services for free at these conferences in the morning, to say, let's at least, like start moving in the morning. You can join me. Sometimes they bring me up at the breaks and things like that. So movement is so critical, but not just any movement. Any movement is good. Any movement is good. But there's some movements that I have experienced, at least from my, 25 years of all these different things. I studied tons of movement therapies. And although I dance on a regular basis, and that's definitely super critical, but conscious, deliberate movement that is connected to Tai Chi and Qigong, I have found to be, this is like one of the oldest technologies.
Right.
This is a technology that's been around for thousands of years, where these people have figured out exactly how to move the body to activate the stagnant qi, the stagnant energy in our bodies, right? And so what I include in the first day is just a few of those exercises. Obviously, this is just kind of like a taste of like what it can be, and I don't want to overwhelm anyone with too many things to do. But what I did was I chose 3 exercises that I felt would be the most, like people could feel it right away. Like everybody, you do any one of those 3 exercises, you're going to experience some shift in your energy. And then the second day we focus on energy balancing. So I teach a simple body talk technique, how we can balance our brain and certain energies there. And I go into a little bit more detail about what that means and how you can get the best results out of doing the technique. And then we have a special nourishment challenge on Wednesday, which I'm not going to share because it's kind of a surprise. And then we work on a specific way to improve the feng shui in our homes, and then also a very powerful meditation to release unwanted emotion on the last day. So it's pretty jam-packed, but none of them take very long. So each day the video is 10 minutes or less.
Right.
Okay, and you set it up as a challenge, right?
Yeah, it's as a challenge because, it's like, let's do this. I know a lot of people, even friends of mine, where they're like, oh, I have all the weights in my house, but I'm just, I'm not using them. And I'm like, well, okay, how can I help these people who, they want to move, they want to make a shift. But it's sometimes the hardest thing to just get yourself motivated. So what I found is by doing something where everybody's doing it all together, we're all in this, there's an energy around it when everybody is focused on the same thing at the same time. And it's like, okay, we're going to do this for 5 days. So sometimes that's like an extra boost that people need to just say, okay, I'm going to commit to myself. I'm going to commit to, really building and balancing my energy, figure out the different ways that I'm leaking it, and just, focus on that. But in a way, at least the way that I wanted to do it is a way that's not going to overwhelm you. It's not going to take more than 10 minutes a day. But that little spark, can start to keep you going. And then, you can, it sort of gets you on a trajectory.
Great. So, and I think you've answered the question. A big question that a lot of people have is, well, why would I even bother with your program? There are so many programs out there, and they're offering so many different, and they say the same thing. You're going to feel great and you'll have more energy and you'll lose weight. But I think the difference that I'm hearing with your program is it's more well-rounded. It addresses not just the physical, but the emotional and the energetic. So you're getting it in a different format, which, from what we discussed earlier, is more powerful, because if you work on the emotional, spiritual, you heal better. So, and you're building this chi energy, and it's not like you're giving off energy. It's almost like you're taking in this internal chi energy.
Yeah.
So,
well, yeah. Yeah.
So,
And the people who've been through my program, one of the reasons, I did a pilot in October to just test it out and just to see, is this going to work? Are people gonna like, cause I know it works for me and I know it works for my students, but I thought of like, okay, how can I put this together in a way that most people could benefit? And so what is happening is that people have gotten incredible results. So, and then they were, I kind of said, look, I want to really work with you guys and get feedback and find out like what worked, what didn't work. And how are you feeling? And so I think that does seem to be the case. You know, I mean, like that was my vision. But of course you never know what's going to happen until you actually put it out there. And that was the results. I mean, that has been, and continues to be, because we did another group, that when you look at all these different areas and you're filling in the gap of that one little piece that was missing, you know, and that's one of the reasons, I mean, but when I started doing body talk, and you can ask the body questions and you can find out like what's the thing that is missing? Where's the missing link? Where's the communication not happening?
Right.
And that was part of actually what led me to put the program together, because I started seeing all these different areas, and you know, when I see different people, I'd start to notice patterns of,
Sure.
you know, this is what's missing, and, you know, just trying to fill it in. I mean, you know, I'm always just like constantly thinking, how can I help people more? Because I want them to feel like I do. I want more of my friends and family and people that I know to feel, you know, like they have tons of energy, because it's much more fun to hang out with people who are like super happy and
Sure.
energized
Sure.
and down.
Right. I just want to say, when I did the program when you did it last time, so I'm the type, I tried to look at it every day, because you give it in little increments every day, and I love that, but I would realize my day would go and I wouldn't have even had a chance to look at it. So then what I would do is on the weekend, actually I did this last weekend, I spent Saturday and I just did the whole week, which took me like an hour, but it was nice because I had an hour to look at the oil recipes, look at the food recipes, do the movement, you know, do the technique that you were teaching for energy balancing. So there's a lot of ways that your program can be used. But I want to just take a look at the last few questions, because we're getting close on time. And the last few questions are important because it puts you in a place of feeling into your future. So how great would it be if you achieved this health, right? So how great would it be if you actually did the program, or you got to the next level of health that you're trying to get to? This puts you in the experience of feeling it. And that's important, because you need to emotionally connect to these questions to keep yourself navigating properly. And then number 4, how would it feel if you were unable to get to this point? It's really unpleasant to put yourself in a place of feeling stagnant or feeling like you can't get to the next point. So again, I just say that these 4 questions have helped me throughout my life, motivate, inspire, and get me to take action.
So I think the 5th question is key. How great would it be to try the 5-day body IQ challenge and give yourself that daily boost and the, let's call it clarity of focus? You know,
Yeah.
It seems to be very easy, and you're not working out an hour a day like Tammy is, who's a
Right.
best. You know, she can do that. You know, I wouldn't survive an hour a day. Different story. Anyhow, so the
But it
reason,
is okay for somebody to take it at their own pace as well. You know, like that's the thing. Like you can adapt to what it is that really works for you. If any of us, for any exercise, for anything that we're doing, whether it's a challenge or it's, you know, I think that piece is really important. That's one of the things that I look to teach people in my programs and in just coaching and mentoring people, is how to feel into what actually works for you and not what you should be doing. Right? There's a lot of like, even, you know, if I'm going to put something out, I can say, hey, try to do this. And then if somebody feels that, you know what, that doesn't feel right to me, that's great. And I always commend people for that, because, you know, or this other thing, you know, this feels, I like combining these 2 things, or whatever it is. Right. And I want to encourage everybody to really look at that. And when you're doing any thing, any exercise routine, any nutritional routine, you know, to really learn to tune into your body. Because that's a big, big piece. As we increase the amount of energy that we have in the body, we are able to do that more, you know. And I didn't mention this, but we are all born with, you know, when I was talking about this life force, I just want to mention this before we move on. This basic life force energy, it's called primordial chi, okay? And we are all born with a certain amount of it. And when we run out, we die. Now, this is not meant to like make you freak out, but the fact is we actually need this vital energy to live. It is that energy. Like when you see like an artist or like somebody's, oh, they burnt out, they died at like 25 years old or whatever, you know, the 27 club, all those people who died at 27. A lot of that had to do with they were putting their energy out so much, and they literally burnt out their life force. right? So it's that exact life force that I look to help people rebuild, that's the piece that I think most people just are not aware of it. We're not taught how to cultivate it. We're actually taught how to deplete it from the time we're born.
Yeah.
Right. And when we go to school, they don't say, hey, you have this energy, you want to conserve it. It's like a trust fund. You don't get another rich great uncle to leave you a big chunk of cash. You have to actually tend to it, like a precious gem.
Yeah.
and make it grow. And if you have depleted it, like I had, like so many people have, then there's certain ways that you can actually work to rebuild it. And that part is super critical. And I just want to emphasize that point. Because when you ask me like what's unique about the program,
Right.
I would say not just the program, but just that idea. And it's a certain way of learning how to cultivate that. And it's not, what I found is not just anything does that. I spent 10 years as an alternative health practitioner, helping people healing myself. But because I missed this big point, there was something hugely missing in my own vitality, as well as what I was able to help others with. So that piece is important. And that's something to really look at, something that, I'm happy to share more with. Anyone can reach out to me if you have questions, yeah. So anyway, just wanted to say, I really care about people understanding that and building that more in our world, because our world needs it bad. We need people with both external and internal resources. We need people who are resourced and they feel calm. They can stay calm during this whole crisis. A lot of people, I've been very, very, very busy recently because so many people, even some of my colleagues, are reaching out to me for emotional support because I feel good. I feel calm. I'm able to say, okay, what do I got? What I've learned all these things. Everything's going to be fine. And obviously, some people are really suffering. I'm not trying to minimize that. But we have to go with where we're at, right? We have to take the situation for what it is and move forward from there. And if you have the resources emotionally, physically, and energetically, then you can actually be a resource for yourself and others during this difficult time.
Right. Wow. Well, Karen, I can definitely say that, Tammy and I are thrilled and want to acknowledge you for being the person you are and the stand for all of us in being healthy and really carrying through your knowledge to all this huge community that you've created. So I know it's a big effort to do that, and I want to thank you for that. But the reason we are bringing this webinar to you, our viewers, is to disrupt the pattern that you may be in, so we can help move you to a higher energy state. So these 5 questions that we just went over are really disruptors because they help you stay on your path. The 3 of us are leaders in health and wellness, and these are the things that we do to stay healthy and balanced. And we want to share our experiences that work.
Yeah, I also want to just acknowledge the current situation. One of the things that's been helping a lot of my patients is through body talk sessions, we've actually been acknowledging, bringing awareness to the various emotional levels, whether it's fear, anger, grief, frustration with your children, everyone kind of in the same living space. And what's interesting is some people, the fear has kind of went away. Now it's a lot of anger. So they're shifting daily sometimes with all of these ups and downs of emotions. And there's areas where people have developed and there's areas where they're challenged. And those 6 areas are also something worth mentioning. And you can take a look at where you're at and where you feel you are on these 6 areas. Because underneath all of the emotions, that's when the immune system starts to weaken. So it really, I can't say enough how important it is to look at physical, mental, emotional, spiritual, through your developments and your challenges. Dr. Winnick, if you want to put that slide up, I'll just review it quickly because I know we're
Sure.
closing in on time.
Sure.
But I do want to say that making sure that you are not holding judgment towards yourself or even the people that you're living with, because everyone is processing these emotions and these developments and challenges differently. So you have emotional stamina. I know some of my patients are actually gaining emotional stamina. They're doing really well, while others are very challenged by it, and it's almost a stopping block for them. Physical endurance, again, I have patients who've lost 20 pounds because they actually now have time to exercise where they didn't before. Their life was stagnant. So they're actually developing. And then the challenge in physical endurance is if you're lethargic and can't get off the couch because of the depression that you're dealing with. Grounding, this has to happen to feel safe and secure in your home. And you want to feel that in yourself so you can project it to your children. I know for me, when I'm in my living room, grounding is like my nest. And when I'm in my bedroom, that's like my cave. So it's a very different emotional state for me in either place, but I'm grounded in my home. Energetic boundaries, we need to create space, time and space for the people that you're living with so that everyone kind of has time for themselves, but also time to be a family. And how much you plug in or unplug, all of that has to be looked at with boundaries.
Right.
Learning and advancing. Again, some people are developing. They're happy they've got time to learn. Other people are challenged. They've got brain fog. They can't think clearly. They're overrun more with fear. So it's hard for them to focus. And the last one is surrendering to what you can't control and having some belief, trust, and faith in yourself or in that universal energy.
Thank you, Tammy.
Thank you.
So question, what if this information could create a breakthrough and give you peace of mind? I would say that these are potential pieces of the puzzle to keep yourself and your loved ones healthy during these, I don't know, unsettling times, scary times. I've never heard more people ask me to stay safe my entire life.
Oh, I know. It's always, yeah.
Stay safe. Okay.
I say it too. I'm like, be safe.
Be safe. I'm safe every day, so I don't know what, anyhow, different story. Okay, so let's just review. There's a slide up.
I just want to address, because somebody had just made a comment, and I want to address it, if that's okay.
Sure.
Just in terms of people, Tony mentioned that she has thinks she has or has the virus, and she's getting mixed messages about moving. And my experience is that, a lot of people have said, when you lay down, like the virus is kind of like waiting for you, to not move. So actually moving, it's not, I'm not saying like go run a marathon, but the body, like in order for the lymphatic system to work, in order for things to move in the body, we do need to move the body. So a little bit of movement is really, really important. And I would just say, feel it out, right? If you try a little bit and it feels like, okay, this seems to be helping, I seem to be feeling a little better, then, keep going. And if it seems like, you're just doing a little bit at a time, a little bit is not going to tank you, and you'll be able to see, how much you can manage. But it is really important, again, here to listen. But you will be getting, the virus wants you to lay down, right? So you want to just listen, listen to your body, listen to what you really feel, and just try it out.
But
Right.
even moving can be as simple as just these shoulder rolls or, hip circles, slowly. It doesn't have to be bouncing up and down.
Right.
Exactly.
It can be subtle movement.
Well, this is the perfect example where physical meets energetic, where you're doing all these physical things to be healthy, which you have to do, but you can't give up the energetic, the emotional, and the spiritual work that goes along with being healthy. And this is a great time to start combining all this together because it's filling such a need. Okay, so let's move on here. So if you want to contact Karen, right, her phone number is 415-949-0156. And the link for her free 5-day Body IQ Challenge is www.M for Mary, B for boy, I for ice, Q for queen, WEB.com. So that's web.com. If you want to contact me, Dr. Winnick, you can set up a complimentary oral microbial assessment. My number is 212-973-9425. My website for more information is www.tfhny.com. If you want to contact Tammy Kolschmidt to schedule a remote body talk session, you can either call or text her at 917-743-3767, or you can email hello@thermographyforhealthny.com. You can actually enjoy her Hold Your Light meditation that will be emailed to you after today's webinar, which Tammy created, and it's both in audio, and then she also has it transcribed. So you can read the words too if you're not really comfortable being in a meditative state. I recommend people get what's called a water irrigator. It's a magnetic water irrigator called a HydroFloss. And if you call up the company or go online, you can use the discount code 14031 and you'll get a better price. If you want to do some type of oral microbial assessment at home, you can contact oraldna.com and they would give you a whole lab report about, I think, 11 different microbes that would be in your mouth.
Yeah, I just want to also mention that if anyone wants to contact me via email, you can also do that at Karen@KarenAtkins.com. It's not on the slide, but so Karen, well, my name's right there. So you can, Karen@KarenAtkins.com. Happy to answer your question.
Excellent. Okay, so you allowing us to be part of your lives is so important to us. Being able to communicate our life experiences to you is also really so important to us. So my hope for today is to motivate and inspire you guys to take action and achieve optimal wellness through, I'm a dentist, so through sustainable dentistry. In reality, this information that we learned today is worthless unless you take massive action and apply what you learned today.
Yeah, I think for me, Dr. Winnick and Karen, for me, it's about suffering, and everything that I've always done to help other people is to try to help them transition through it or alleviate it in some way. So I would say that's one of the reasons why I feel this information is so important.
Yeah, I mean, I like I was saying before, I mean, I'm so passionate about helping people to really connect with their own life force. And one of the things that happened to me when I started rebuilding my energy was that I came back to music after 25 years of not being that creative in that space. And when I started building up all this life force, all of a sudden my creativity started just like going crazy. And I think that that's a big missing piece that a lot of us, when our life force starts to go down, creative energy and life force energy are actually kind of the same thing, right? And so we don't have as much energy. We just don't have as much energy to be creative. Right. And so the more energy we have, the more we start to like, all of a sudden, I was just like creating like crazy. And I like to, and it's very fulfilling for people to have that experience. A bunch of my students actually in my Master Body IQ program, many of them have actually written to me with stories of how they had like a big writer's block and they started writing, or they hadn't painted in years and they started painting, or they were trying to think of how they could do a certain thing and it happened. So just to encourage you guys that there is a way, if you're feeling stuck or stagnant or overwhelmed or not sure what you should do, there's all this information coming at you. Breaking it down and making it really simple is I think really important. It's something that I take pride in doing. And I think it's really critical for people. So I definitely encourage you to join in the free challenge, get whatever you can out of that. And then also, some of the tools that you can use. And I also have a YouTube channel, so there's a lot of information out there. that you can get for free to just see what resonates and see, you know, what starts to light you up.
Great. So we are approaching the 60-minute, the 1 hour limit for the webinar. However, and I want to honor everyone's time, so I do want to go through these recap of vital points, and then if Karen, if we can stay longer and answer some
I'm happy to
Q&A.
stay if anyone has questions.
If you need to go off the call, we will send you a recording of this so that you can watch it anytime you want later on, or pass it on to your friends and your loved ones. That's also a great thing to do. So Karen, you want to start reading off your recap slides?
Sure. So most important thing, we're all born with a basic amount of life force energy. As I mentioned, it's called primordial chi, and it's actually stored in our kidneys. I didn't say this before, but that's why sometimes it's called kidney chi. This energy enables us to be healthy, happy, and vital. So we need energy. It's very hard to feel connected when we're not feeling healthy, feeling vital. So our ability to follow through on our goals depends on this life force, right? And I mentioned why that is. When you have more energy, you can actually make a commitment, because part of this kidney chi is stored in the kidneys. The kidneys are also our willpower. So if we have more energy, we have more willpower, and we're able to commit to things. Doing practices and techniques that help to cultivate and sustain and stop leaking our energy, doing these practices directly connected also to this life force energy. So all three of those things. So we talked about the physical stuff, we talked about the energetic stuff, we talked about the emotional stuff. All of those things are important to helping us maintain this life force energy. And it's also really important to integrate various tools and lifestyle practices that are designed to help balance our emotions and our vitality, to ensure that we're able to sustain this life force to achieve our goals. So it's not just about one thing, right? It's not just about moving, not just about what we eat. It's not just about how we feel. It's not just about, meditating. We can do all these individual things, and they're really important. But when we can just make sure that we're, what's the piece that I kind of always tend to miss, right? And that's what I want to help you to find that missing piece that may be keeping you blocked, keeping you, sabotaging yourself. You make a commitment and then you can't stick with it. Those things we can change those things. We don't have to be stuck in a pattern. A lot of you guys on this, I'm sure, already know about many of these things. So it's also finding that one little thing that you may not have figured out, or that one thing's like, oh yeah, but even just a reminder, you may already know about it, but you weren't doing it, right? I mean, I think most of us, the majority of us, know exactly what we need to do. We're just not doing it. So that's another thing that I hope to do, is help you to get motivated, even if it's just from this call. Like, if you know something to do, let's do it.
Right.
Excellent. Okay. Hidden gum and tooth infections create systemic inflammation, which affects your immune system and increases your ability to get a disease. If you are presently working to eliminate hidden infections in your body with a doctor, you must realize the gut and the mouth are connected. You can't ignore the possibility of having an undiagnosed infection in the mouth. Therefore, it's imperative to have an oral microbial assessment. And lastly, avoid alcohol-based mouthwash, since they kill the needed healthy bacteria that promotes systemic health. For example, nitric oxide production is produced in two places. One place is in the mouth, and if you're using alcohol-based mouthwash, you're killing that healthy bacteria. And you need nitric oxide, not nitrous oxide, nitric oxide, for vital, healthy vascular integrity, or basically for a healthy heart.
Yeah, so I'm going to just, I'm going to lay into a comment right here, because I find it interesting that someone doesn't understand that an action item is actually stepping back and witnessing yourself in your life. Looking at yourself is an action item. So the person that like got out of here because they weren't getting action items is totally missing the boat. Because here's your recap. Witness yourself in your development and challenges. Do you know how much action and energy it takes to step outside of your shit and witness yourself and look at what's going on in your life? That's an action item. It's more than an action item of me just doling out all kinds of little tips and this and that, when the biggest tip of all for all of you is to look at yourself. Witness how you're behaving in your home, with your family, with your friends. What are you watching on TV? How are you contributing to your health? And health isn't just physical. It's mental, emotional, and spiritual. So I wish I would have saw that comment way earlier.
Yeah.
And now you know what I.
If those of you who know me, you know I'm not laying down. I am going to take that, and that person is going to get an email so that they understand what an action item is.
And now you know what I deal with every day.
That's great, man. I am a fire sign.
It's true. I mean, look, we're all, I think everybody is in a heightened state right now. And wherever we get triggered, it's going to, so obviously this person got triggered by what their expectations of life. And that's exactly what you're talking about. If you're looking at yourself, we are all looking at ourselves, because I definitely need to do, I'm constantly asking myself, like, one of the biggest things, I think, I was listening to a recording of a very wonderful personal development teacher, and he was saying one of the biggest signs of awareness is how quickly we get irritated.
Yeah.
Right? And for me, being an Aries and being like very impatient, it's like I'll have this like little mini temper tantrum. Usually it's only to myself, but
right.
Even that temper tantrum to myself, I can feel when it does something to my body. I can feel. And now I'm really fortunate because I spent the last 25 years studying all kinds of tools to help me, navigate that, see it, do something about it, whatever. But still, I'm human, like I get upset about a little annoying thing or whatever. And so it's what do you do in that moment? Do you blame somebody else, or do you say, okay, what is it? What were my expectations, and how can I, how can I see, like, this is the reality? How can I make the most of it? And it's
you become aware of you. You become aware of you and the perceptions. There's 1,000 ways that people can look and think and feel about any one situation. So it's really important to know where you're at on that, in those, actually those 6 areas that I had talked about.
Yeah.
If you really step back and look at that, you'll be shocked at what you find.
Okay. Tammy and Karen will be continuing this conversation tomorrow at 9 a.m. So please tune in. Okay.
We'll send you the Zoom link.
Yes. Just to be complete, Tammy, item number 2 was listen to or speak the Hold Your Light meditation that you created, which people will have emailed to them in a few hours.
And there's an action. That's an action item.
Sorry I brought it up.
Yeah. And if anybody has any burning questions, they can throw in.
Oh, they do.
Oh, they do.
So I'm going to try. Okay, so give me a.
Oh, okay. Tai Chi.
What's
the difference between Tai Chi or Qigong? In my program, I actually do both. I do both. In the 5-day challenge, I don't have time to do Tai Chi. In the 5-day challenge, because Tai Chi requires, it's like one moment after another. So the bulk of the challenge is Qigong. In the programs that I do, I teach both. And the difference, by the way, because some people don't know the difference between Tai Chi and Qigong. So I'll just share, because they really are very similar. The difference is that Qigong was actually developed sooner. you know, it's older, right? Tai Chi was actually developed by a guy whose name I can't pronounce, Zhang Shengfeng or something like that. I'm not Chinese, so forgive me. But anyway, and he actually developed Tai Chi because he had cultivated doing Qigong for, you know, his whole however long, and he supposedly became immortal, you know, in terms of like his vitality level. And that's what, you know, they call them in that whole world. And he developed Tai Chi actually for the elderly, because he found that he started really cultivating most of his practices after he was older, right? He was like above 60. So he actually he developed Tai Chi specifically for people 65 and up. I mean, everybody, but like he wanted to prove to people who were over 65 that they could revitalize their life force even at that age. And so, you know, so it's definitely for that. The Tai Chi is usually like, movements that flow into one another. So it's like one movement and then another movement and then another. So it's more like a dance, right? It's like a routine that goes one into the other. And you're doing one movement and then the other. In Qigong, Qi actually, you know, you could say is energy, and Gong is like move. So we're moving the energy, but we're doing it through the mind first. So Qigong is you use the energy and your mind to move, and then the body kind of follows the mind, right? So it's very, very internal, and they're both kind of internal, but you're flowing, and usually the movements repeat. There's like several movements that repeat, and then you go to another movement. So it's not boring, but it's just like you do a few in a row of one particular movement as opposed to one to the next. And then the Tai Chi is you're actually moving the body, and then the mind follows the body, right? So it's just two slightly different approaches, but they both have very similar effects. Hope that helps.
And the one that you do is Qigong, correct? When you actually are doing your full program.
I'm doing both in the program, actually.
Okay.
Both Qigong. And it's spelled, you can spell it CHIGONG or QIGONG. I often spell it CHI because if I spell it QI, people don't know how to pronounce it. They go Qigong, or, you know, in our culture, that QI doesn't, if you don't know that it's Qi, then you wouldn't pronounce it that way. So you'll often see me doing it both, but usually I spell it CHI.
Okay.
I have a question. Someone says, I want the irrigator, but challenged by having the adequate space in the bathroom. Any suggestions? Yeah, unfortunately, I assume you live in New York, and we all have small spaces here. A lot of my patients would set it up and in the bathroom, in their kitchen sink, and then just put it away after they use it. And that's all that's the best suggestion I can give right now.
And I just want to say, you know, just because I know that since a lot of people are really struggling with their emotions, with their health, they want to optimize. I just want to make a plug for Tammy and her amazing body talk sessions. Again, I get no payment for this, but you know, I did train Tammy, so I happen to know, and in fact, I go to Tammy for body talk sessions. Just so you know, I have access to tons of body talk practitioners, and I absolutely love my sessions with Tammy. So I just want to say, if any of you have not had a body talk session with Tammy, you're missing out. So, and you know, and distance sessions are actually not only just as effective, but sometimes I think they're even more effective than in-person sessions. I mean, you know, they're both really nice, but if you haven't experienced it, I really recommend you trying a session with her. You will definitely not regret it. You will thank me later. So.
Thank you, Karen.
Yes.
Okay, let's just see if there's any other questions. I think we're getting to the end. We're good.
Love to all of you. I've seen
Yes.
comments. Thank you. I appreciate them.
Yeah, thank you all so much for your presence, and just, you know, because like these guys were saying earlier, we need more of us to be aware of these things, to share these kinds of things with people. I mean, as much as like I find that in my world, I tend to, you know, as I talk about this stuff all the time, I forget that most people just have no clue what I'm talking about. You know, it's like when I get out there in the world, it's like, they're like, oh, that's, you know, bullshit, you know, whatever. It's like, wow, you know, so I think it is really important that we share this information. and that we, you know, in order to stay upbeat. I mean, it's really, this is, you know, it's not about not acknowledging the struggles that people are having, but if we can keep our energy in a certain place, we can really be so much more helpful to everybody else, you know. And I can just tell you by my experience, because I've literally had, you know, I've been holding up a lot of people right now because they're freaking out, and it's understandable. I don't blame them at all. It's just there's ways and tools that we can use to help ourselves, like kind of just, you know, get ourselves into a place where we can be as neutral as we possibly can given the situation, and really strengthen our immune system, strengthen our ability to just take things as they are and move forward, you know. And for whatever the agenda is or isn't, whatever the reason for it is or isn't, you know, whatever, all that stuff doesn't really matter. We have to just deal with what is in front of us right now. And what are the tools that we have, and how, and are we using them? And are we reaching out to the people who want to help us, right? You know, it's like a lot of times, there's a quote that I just read recently, and it's just like, whenever you find yourself in a situation that's rough or, you know, scary, reach out to your helpers, because they'll be there. And it's so true. There's so many people that want to help you right now. I am 100% sure. I can tell you right now, the three of us do. You know? So that's why I put my phone number on there. Like, literally, you can call me. I really don't mind. My email, whatever. You know, if there's something you think I can help you with, I really, really care. And I'm so happy to be connected with these guys and have the opportunity to come here and share with you. So thank you for really being the bringers of this stuff to a whole new world that we are opening up to. I mean, this is, you know, I can say this on this forum, and if somebody doesn't like it, I'm sorry, but there's there is a lot of energy right now that's accessible to us if we tune in, right? It is not all bad. There is some good stuff that we can really take from this and use everything that we're learning, all and through the struggles and through the challenges, we can really come out shining in a way that we didn't expect. And so I just want to encourage you all to take care of yourself, take care of the people around you. If you're alone, I'm alone in my house. I haven't barely seen a soul in 2 months, but I'm connecting through phone and video, and that's really helping. And you know, I had to make all these videos by myself with a broken toe for the challenge. So forgive me if you see a camera shake or whatever, but it's pretty funny. So I look forward to seeing you guys also in New York as soon as I can get my butt over there to get my teeth cleaned and
Good.
Dr.
Good.
Winnick.
Good. Thank you, Karen.